What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Wave of the World podcast. As usual, I am your host, Jacob Bodega. My podcast serves as entertainment as well as worldly insight into the lives of everyday people creating their own narratives. We discuss various topics ranging from personal one-on-one interviews as well as current news topics with some people and things in the world that I find interesting. Everybody has a story. I'm ready to hear yours. Thank you all for supporting me so much on this podcast journey. I greatly appreciate it. I did not know how much of an impact that I would be able to make. I got the Spotify Wrap for the podcast, and we're being listened to in over 40 countries. And I think y'all deserve a round of applause for that one. Thank y'all so much for the support. You know what? I want to see the countries. I want to see what countries that we're being listening to, because y'all deserve a proper shout out. You know what I mean? Like, this is live. This is off the cuff. It don't really matter. Well, it matters just because I want to give y'all's props. You know what I mean? And like I said, when I started this thing, I didn't really expect it to do the numbers that it did. But here we are, being listened to in the UK and Germany and Ireland, South Korea, Russia, Australia, India, Brazil, Canada, Japan, Guatemala, Vietnam, Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Philippines. Oh, go back. There's more. Hold on. I left off at the Philippines. Sweden, Honduras, Zambia, Poland, Ethiopia. My people listening to me. My people. Oh, that's so amazing. I love you all. Have nothing but respect for you all. Like I said, I thank y'all for supporting the podcast, and in any way, shape, or form, any listen to me in any country is mind blowing. Do have some somber news though, that the podcast is coming to an end. Yes, I know. Insert crying emojis. There have been some changes in my life, and I just won't have the time to put out the product that I want to put out on a consistent basis for you all. This is not to say that the podcast won't come back in the future. Just right now, I have some personal things that I have to take care of. I'm glad y'all have been with me on this journey. I didn't even think that I'd make it through my first year, let alone two. And I would just say that if you really enjoy the podcast, to rate it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Continue to support by going to jacobsbodega.com. I'm canceling the Patreon after this episode airs. And just keep a lookout on Instagram. I'm not going to really be sending out any emails or anything, but yeah, just keep a lookout on Instagram to see if and when the podcast comes back to the surface. Just because the people that I'm meeting in my, day-to-day work now, I definitely want them to come on the podcast and, be able to speak on whatever it is that their area of focus is, and to enlighten all of us, because some of these conversations that I have now, boy, they are mind-blowing, and I can't even fathom that I'm in the room with these people having these conversations. So with that being said, this is going to be the last episode of the podcast for now, also for 2021. Let's jump right into today's topics. I went and saw this joint when it first came out. Spider-Man No Way From Home. Now, I'm not the type to, spoil movies for people. But when I tell you this was everything I expected it to be, it was everything I expected it to be. This movie has done, if you see the highlighted portion, $680 million globally. It is close to being a 1 billion in ticket sales. 1 billion. That's a lot of money. It's ridiculous. And you know what? It's well deserved just because the movie was it was so well done. Like I thought they would have some trouble bringing back Tobey Maguire, not necessarily Andrew Garfield, just because he's a little bit younger. When Tobey was doing Spider-Man 1 and 2, he was like in his like late 20s, early 30s. Now he's pushing like 40s, 50s. Like he's getting old and he can't be doing them trips and flips no more. Tricks and flips. My goodness. A web got my tongue. Ha ha. Spider-Man No Way From Home, No Way Home, really showed the internal struggle with Tom Holland, as well as the struggle between all three Spider-Mans, just because they're used to fighting by themselves, and they had to learn how to work together in tandem with each other, which I thought was super dope. And it was funny seeing their little when you go see the movie, their little dialogue right before they fight everyone. It was just kind of funny. But I also thought it was my thought going into the movie, which this doesn't spoil anything for anyone, so don't be worried. My thought going into the movie was I knew that they were bringing back Sandman. And I also knew that they were bringing back the Green Goblin. They were bringing back Doc Ock. They were bringing back the professor, the reptile. I forgot what his name was. Crocodoc, whatever. And then they were also bringing back Electro. I thought it was interesting that they decided to bring back Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Sandman from Tobey's Spider-Man, but they didn't bring back Venom. I just thought it was super interesting. So I think that is a chance for them to. Spider-Man's going to definitely have one, if not two more movies. And I think that with the ending of this one is going to be a great intro to the Spider-Verse, just based on how everything played out in No Way From Home. And my candidate, I've been saying this, I recently tweeted it the other day, that my candidate for the Miles Morales Spider-Man is Miles Brown, and I will show y'all him right now. The dude is built like Miles Morales as well. Like, look at him. He's the kid from Blackish. He's got the same fuzzy hair that most of us have. And I think like him and Tom Holland are already great friends. I think he'd be a perfect candidate for Miles Morales, the Black Brooklyn Spider-Man. But that's neither here nor there. That's just my take on it. If y'all have some takes on it, I'd love to hear it. But yeah, I do think that a live action Intro to the Spider-Verse is coming. Whether or not Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire will be able to be in it, I don't know. But based on the Intro to the Spider-Verse movie, like the cartoon movie, I think Andrew Garfield could play that teacher Spider-Man role towards Miles Morales. But then you would have two young Spider-Mans. You'd have Tom Holland, and then you could have Miles Morales playing the Brooklyn Spider-Man. And that would be insane. I don't know who their villain would be. It could be Vulture. It could be where they bring back Venom, which would be super interesting. Um, Not necessarily the Venom from the first Spider-Man, but the Tom Hardy Venom, which I haven't seen the Carnage movie yet, which I still have to see it. Um, I think bringing back the Tom Hardy Venom would be mind blowing because the first Peter, Tom or Tobey Maguire, already faced the Venom, and they brought back Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, even though he died, which I thought was interesting as well. Um, but not bringing back, what was the guy's name that played Spider-Man 3? The guy that played, Spider-Man 3 cast. The guy that played Eddie Brock. Topher Grace. Yeah, Topher Grace. He played Venom. There he goes. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they didn't bring him back. I wish they would have. I think it would have added another little twist to the movie. But you never know. You never know. What else do we got on the docket today? That's all I got to say because I don't want to spoil it for nobody. So, yeah. Like I said, nobody dies, so that's good. That's the only thing somebody dies. I lied. I've been lying all day. I watched a movie. Somebody dies. I'm not gonna tell you. But on a serious note, this actually just happened today. So Kim Potter was the police officer who mistook her gun for her taser and fatally shot Dante Wright in Minneapolis. I forgot when this happened. I know it happened this year, which sounds crazy. But she was convicted of manslaughter, as she should. And I think that this change that we're starting to see happen is slowly but surely going to become the norm. I know last episode me and Mike discussed the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. But it's cases like these where like the cases where the logical choice of a verdict gets laid out, they don't get publicized as much as the ones that go south. But like I said, kid was only 20. Now his son has to grow up without a father. It didn't have anything to do with him. But good news. Bad news for Kim Potter, but we all have to be held accountable at some point, and I'm glad that she was held accountable in this situation. Yeah, that's heavy. What's not heavy? This is actually pretty light. So I wanted to talk a little bit about NFTs just because I feel like they are, I don't want to say sweeping the nation. That sounds like a corny thing to say, but they are definitely taking over in the tech space as far as a place to invest in. I'm going to break it down the best way that I've had it broken down for me before. So in the sense that you can go to Dave & Buster's, you can purchase the power card at Dave & Buster's, you can buy the coins to play the games at Dave & Buster's, but that card only holds weight at Dave & Buster's. You can't go to your local arcade to play games. You can't go to the grocery store to exchange the money that you paid, or you can't exchange Dave & Buster's tokens for money at other places. same way the NFTs work. You buy into whatever the Dave and Buster thing is of the time, whether it be most of it is represented by crypto art, which you can see down here. This is a crypto kitty. Um, it's a digital trading game on the Ethereum network. So the same way that you trade your money for Dave and Buster coins, you trade your money for these NFTs, which the images are solely just the images. They don't really mean anything. People use the images to bring attention to the fact that they are non-fungible tokens, but they're really a form of receipts and a form of what's the word for it? I guess it's just like a track record. Um, so you can actually track back who has what, and there's no way for copies to be made. Now you can screenshot, but you don't have the receipt of your purchase, and the blockchain prevents copies from happening. And I just think they're super interesting. They're obviously funded by Bitcoin and Ethereum, or not funded, but they use the Bitcoin and Ethereum blockchains to run their transactions. And like it's set up here, a video clip NFT of LeBron James dunk sold for $200,000, and then a Nyan Cat GIF went for $600,000. Jack Dorsey's first tweet sold for 2.9 million. So, like, I think there's money to be made there. I'd also advise you to do your own research, just because you can't really trust everything I say. But I do think that NFTs are going to become very prevalent in society. If you think I'm kidding, Beeple, he was actually just on the Joe Rogan podcast. So he created a couple of pieces of artwork and sold them to Louis Vuitton, and they became inspiration for some of their product line. Like, it's going to happen, and regardless if you want it to or not, I guess. Like, I don't know. I think it's super interesting. And I think that to me, it's a sort of crowdfunding. And there's a NFT group called the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So the Bored Ape Yacht Club, there's only 10,000 different apes, and you can buy them on things like, or you can buy them with either MetaMask wallet, or you can buy them on websites like OpenSea, and you can get, once you purchase it, people who have also purchased this are Steph Curry, Von Miller, Jimmy Fallon, Waka Flocka, and a couple of others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but nonetheless, you can get in a Discord with this group of people, and the money that is generated from the selling of the NFTs goes into physical assets into the real world. And specifically with Bored Ape Yacht Club, they've purchased homes in certain destination areas that only the people who hold the NFTs can go and stay at for free. And that is the power of the NFT. And the longer that you hold on to it, depending on what perks you get for buying the NFT, the more the NFT by itself, it makes interest on top of you holding on to it, just like a stock would make dividends. And that's why I think it's interesting. But like I said, do your own homework. Just because I'm not trying to get sued. All right. Now, we're going to move on to the next portion of the podcast. I'm going to try not to cry. All right. So we're going to do, this is my personal, these are my personal favorite episodes of the podcast. There's your boy. So I'm just going to go through the list real quick. So number one, my top 4, I guess my Mount Rushmore of favorite podcasts this year. Starting out at number 1, we're going to go back to episode 25, released on February 4th. It was with James West, good friend of mine, newly father, him and Stacy, their baby Darcy Diana is beautiful. We talked about, and I'm pretty sure that I've referenced this episode plenty of times, so if y'all haven't listened to it, please go listen to it. I think it's a really great episode. We talked about music being a universal language. Regardless of where you're from, when you hear certain type of music, you just start feeling it and going and going. And I think that it was created for us to learn how to relate to each other. That's number 1. Number 2 is going to be Finding Your Lane, episode 28 with Benji Smith. Good friend of mine since the knee highs. And I'm really proud of Benji and what he's doing and where he's going. He's still doing, I don't know what number he's on, but he's still doing the 50 free videos if anybody needs any type of video work. Really good episode with him. Number 3 is going to be Katera. She's the girl who up and quit her job and moved to Texas. I checked up on her a couple weeks ago. She's doing great. She got a job. I don't know if she's liking it or not. We didn't go too far into the conversation, but yeah. Shout out to Katera. And then the last episode was actually the last episode. The conversation with Mike. I'm gonna post some of the little snippets before the episode actually started, and just so y'all can see that Mike is like one of my favorite people to talk to, just because we're both somewhat semi-introverted, and Mike always holds a really good conversation, and it never really feels awkward. And I think that's just because he's been a barber for so long. And he's one of the people that, like I said, I just enjoy having a conversation with. And if I can support any of my people, I'm going to do it. So those are my top 4. Let me know what yours are. I'd be super interested to hear what some of your favorites of the year were. But those are my 4. And now we are coming down to the last portion of the episode, Lo Siento. But all good things must come to an end. So we're about to hop into the music moment. And that's where I suggest 3 songs for y'all that I suggest you go listen to. Add it to your playlist. See what you think, how you feel. So my first song is by Peachtree Rascals, and it is called Donde Esta? It's called Fumari. Really bouncy song. I remember I suggested a Ty Verde song to y'all. This is along those same lines. Really good song. great band. I'm still getting into more of their tapes, so this is the only one that I have to suggest by them. And then next up is Lady of Namek by Tory Lanez. I gave Tory a break for a while just because of the whole situation with him and Meg Thee Stallion going on. But I feel like I think that we should all take a break from each other and kind of like reset and come back and be like, I feel differently now. This is how I feel. And especially with celebrities, just because we don't know what goes on in their lives. And media can sometimes twist their words or pit two people against each other, blah, blah, blah. This song to me was really out of the realm for Tory Lanez. It was very, I would say, like 70s funkadelic. It's the best way I can explain it. Really good song, though. And then lastly, Oldie but a Goodie. Marc Anthony, Will Smith, and Bad Bunny. Esta Rico. And this is like a real, I'd say like South Beach, Miami vibes music. Like Will Smith went back to the Bad Boys for this one. And if you don't listen to too much music that is multilingual, I suggest you do it just because that's an easy way for you to learn how to speak another language. Because when you start like bopping to a song or whatever, like you just start feeling it. There's no other there's no other way. I don't think there's another fun way that you could try to learn somebody else's language than by engulfing yourself in their music, in their food, whatever it may be. But once you get a taste, I promise you ain't gonna want to stop. But yep, those are my 3 for the music moment. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the last episode of 2021, last episode of the podcast. I appreciate y'all's support up until now and going into the future. Like I said, be on the lookout for more episodes in the future. Just for right now, I think it's best for the quality of the podcast that I aim to shoot for every time, that it just has to come to an end. And I appreciate y'all. I love the support. Continue to go out, be great, spread some peace, love, and positivity. Bye bye.